Welcome to the Rosa Rhea podcast, where two sisters talk about sex, love, and relationships. Today, we're mostly going to be talking about dating. So I guess that's in the relationships category. A lot of advice today for guys. So stay tuned because we're going to give you the best advice of your life.
And if you don't follow us on Instagram, follow our podcast on the podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and review because we love reading your reviews.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Makes me feel so connected to you guys.
And if you guys want any, if you want to send in any questions, do that too. Those are really awesome as well.
Yeah.
We love hearing your guys' sex, love, and relationship questions.
Yeah, and I love it so much that I actually just do give people advice in my free time without them wanting it.
Yeah.
So that's why we've been asking for you to write in and ask for advice because I love giving advice so much. Like even my free time or even at my job, I'm a server. When I go to work, I'm always asking guys to show me their Bumble profiles because I'm obsessed. I love giving them feedback. Maybe you should change that picture of you 3 years ago at the pyramids because it doesn't look like you anymore. Or, a lot of guys like to talk, like say a few sentences, but it doesn't really give me enough. So we've been talking about this a lot, Ray and I, about how to sell yourself on Bumble or Tinder and getting back into experiencing the conversations and everything that goes along with having Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, or your favorite go-to app that you use for dating.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I took a really long break from Tinder. Like, I was salty as fuck. Like,
Salty.
so I just erased the app. But I went on there, for some personal research, and I was just like refreshed with all the memories when I was on there before, like looking at all the profiles. Like I also like to think about like, I don't swipe right that's the good one, right? Swiping right.
Yes.
I rarely swipe right. Like out of 100 guys, sometimes I won't swipe right once, to be honest. But I like to think about what turns me off. What right away is a swipe left, like deal breakers, like internal deal breakers that I have. Some of them are like no information whatsoever. Like if the guy has no information in the bio, that's an instant, it doesn't matter. Because I don't really care what he looks like, right, Rosa?
Mm-hmm. Well, Ray, I don't know if you have Bumble, but they've sort of changed the way it looks now.
Okay.
So it'll be like if you want to see more of their information, first of all, if you want a profile, they ask you lots of questions like, do you drink? Do you smoke weed? And all of that, or like, how tall are you? All of that will be in your bio already. So it's kind of hard to have an empty one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
That's
I'm
better.
actually more of a fan of Bumble right now.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and then also they'll ask you questions that you can answer in one sentence. Like if I were to cook you dinner, it would be, and then you'd say like, mashed potatoes, gnocchi, whatever. I don't know. That's a stupid example. But so it's a picture and then it'll be like in big letters, big font. It'll say like the answer to that question or like where's the place you want to travel to next. So you, instead of having to think of something from scratch, now there's like helpful questions that you can answer.
That's fantastic.
And it's the way it's like visually set up now looks really cool. And I feel like it's more... I don't know, addictive, but also more approachable. So that's pretty cool. And because, Hinge is kind of set up that way.
Yes, I've been on there before.
So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, and you know what? That's a really good point, Rosa, and I'm going to definitely actually reboot my Bumble because I think I don't want to put all the blame on guys. I'm sure girls have empty profiles too. Like you might literally be like a 10 out of 10 guy and just really literally not know what to write in your Tinder profile. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
So those kinds of questions would be very helpful, I think, if you were on a dating app, and I'm going to try that out because Tinder, like I had I had some good laughs.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
wasn't, but there's a surprising amount of guys that are still ashamed about even being on there in the first place.
Yeah,
Dating
I've seen on your
sites.
personal Instagram, like you do screenshots of people's Tinders, and it's just like a mountain. And you're like, cool, Steve. I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
Or like a black screen.
Yes.
So those are sketchy. Obviously, no one's gonna swipe for those. Yeah. So some of the advice that I give to guys about Bumble or Tinder, like when I force them to show me their profiles, is sometimes guys need one sentence or a couple sentences about what they like to do. And the reason for that isn't what you would think. The reason for that is you need to start almost like spooling the web, like spinning the web, sorry, right? That you're going to
Yeah.
catch the girl in. And women, especially, sex and sexual desire and getting turned on starts at the very first encounter. And it starts in your mind with fantasies. So say a guy just said, oh, this is what I've been up to lately, and doesn't say what he's interested in, then you can't really get a picture of the two of you in your mind together. So you might not be as inclined to match. But say a guy says, I love snowboarding, hope to hit Baker a couple times this year. Then immediately, if you think the guy's cute, the next thing in your mind is like, oh, I like snowboarding.
Yeah.
And you picture yourself on the chairlift together
Yes.
and swooshing down the hill together.
Yeah.
So there's that immediate picture in your mind of the two of you together. And I think if you can picture yourself with somebody doing that activity, then you're more likely to match with them.
And also, I would also say it's a benefit because if they say something, they say what they're interested in doing, and it's something that you don't enjoy doing,
Yeah.
you need to address that right the fuck away.
Yeah, just don't swipe left or
Because,
swipe right.
or if someone messages you, because it happens to me, because if you don't address it, it's going to be a problem 10 months down the road, maybe.
Totally.
Right? So it's really important. That's another good benefit. Like, I like it when a guy's like, I'm super into sports. I'm obsessed with sports. Because then I'm like, well, I'm not. So
Yeah, have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Our opinion is that guys should do this. However, that's only good advice for guys. As women, we need to be so careful about the fantasies that we have about men. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we're going to go snowboarding every weekend. And he's so into the things that I'm into. And you really can run away with yourself with these fantasies. So having that awareness that that's where our sexual desires come from and that we like to fantasize, but also reeling it the fuck in when it goes too far. Because I've mentioned this on our live videos. Make sure you follow myself, Rosa Borkowitz, and at Rhea BS so that you can catch our lives sometimes. I've said this before. I have a crush on somebody who I literally have not even hung out with. Like, we hung out one time.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't talk, and I'm not involved in his life, but in my mind, I have a crush on him. I think he's super cute, and I always check and see if he follows or watches my stories because I'm a fucking loser, which I think everyone does to some extent. But it's a complete fantasy. So there's that example of having a crush and having a fantasy, but there's also, if you meet a guy and you've only gone on 3 dates, but you're already planning your 1-year anniversary and you want him to meet your parents, and he said that he likes dogs, so you're hoping you guys can get a dog together. This is very dangerous.
Yeah, you got to be super, super careful. And everyone does it. Like, even when I was on Tinder last night, swiping away, I was building these same fantasies.
No.
But just very quickly.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, I can see how it happens because
Yeah.
I've been there. Like you say, it happens to everyone. You build this crush on someone that you don't even really know that well,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And all of a sudden, like, you got all this stuff going on in your head. But you have to be very, very cautious because then you get disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't deliver because it's based all on fantasy. And, you can also be the fantasy, right?
Be on the other end, the person who is being fantasized about.
That's right. And I'm sure everyone's been there before.
Yeah.
And that can be a real wake up call too, right? How dangerous it can be because it makes you feel shitty, right? Like I don't want people to fantasize about me. I want people to get to know me.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
You
I
know?
find, and I think that why we all have an aversion to it is because it shows poor judgment.
Exactly.
Okay, so as human beings, the way we've evolved is to connect with people who we consider to have good judgment because those people, eventually we can procreate with. And that's on like obviously like a deep level of evolution. But it comes out in dating because if somebody has poor judgment, you are not going to want to be around them. You're going to be like, one time I was dating this guy and he was like, in 5 months, do you want to go on a trip together? And I had literally gone on like 5 dates with him and we hadn't even had sex yet. And I was freaked the fuck out. Even though in his mind, that might be nice or whatever, to me, it felt like poor judgment.
Yeah.
And he was probably fantasizing about us.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that wasn't real.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. And then you get put off, right, from the person.
Yeah,
it's not
very
good.
off-putting.
So I really try and reel it in, as you say, but it's hard when you're tempted, especially by pictures. Pictures, it's easy to fantasize when you're on social media, when you're looking at someone's Instagram or you're looking at their Tinder profile, looking at pictures of glimpses into someone's life. You're not seeing the whole real picture. You can't really know that picture until you meet the person in real life. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for actual in real life dating, is because that's how you get to know people. I know sexting and this, like, I accept social media wholeheartedly, and I love sexting, messaging with people, guys, whatever. But you cannot substitute, like, the in real life is so important,
Absolutely.
That's how you really solidify real connections with people.
Yeah, and I would caution guys. I feel like this is going to be maybe advice for guys episode. I would caution guys from texting a lot before the first in real life meeting. My like ultimate guy would ask me on a date. We'd plan that date and the day, and then we'd leave each other alone. You know what I mean? Because I feel like any texting is going to be a waste of both of our times. We don't know if we like each other enough. It's like once you start texting and, oh, what are you doing today? Oh, it's my aunt's birthday. And then they're like, oh, how was your aunt's birthday? Did she like the present you got her? It's like, what if then you go on the date and you're not interested in each other? It's kind of like, why the hell did I spend all that time learning about your freaking aunt and texting you when we didn't even know if we connected? So you might connect, you might not, but I would say be direct, say, I'd like to take you on a date, find a time together, and that might take some back and forth, and that's fine. That might take a couple days to figure out your schedules. And then once you've been direct and asked her out, then say, I'm looking forward to it, and then don't text her anymore.
Yeah,
would you agree, Rhea?
Yes, I agree with that advice 100%. And here's the one, there's a couple key components here for me at least. First of all, commit to the date. Okay.
Oh, yeah. If you say you're going to do it, you should do it.
Yeah. So you're committing right away to meeting the person in real life. You're not thinking, oh, I'm going to have to message and get to know them for a few more days before I ask them out. No, you commit to meeting them in real life. You set the date and time, like Rosa says, and then you go and do it and you don't text. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say, as far as women, women really like, first of all, they love everyone, men, women, doesn't matter your gender, they like people that can commit to something. But secondly, I think women do enjoy the anticipation of a date. Like even if the date is like 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the road, if they know that it's going to happen, they're going to look forward to it.
Yeah.
And that is really important for the build-up of being turned on to a guy too, right?
Yeah. And so if you're constantly texting me, then that doesn't start ruminating in my head.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't have a committed date, then there's nothing to really like look forward to. But women love looking forward to a date.
Yeah.
You think about what you're going to wear, this like even weeks, days beforehand. And it's enjoying, that's the way I like about dating. I like that anticipation. That builds the sexual chemistry. But if it's like wishy-washy, I've just noticed like the more wishy-washy a relationship is, the harder it is for me to be turned on. That's why I don't like casual sex. Because if I'm not sure what a guy's intentions are, my turn on level is lower, I noticed.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important for sure that guys commit to a date, don't do too much texting.
Yeah, and then I
then-
have advice for when you're on the date, too. I'm just going to keep rolling with this. When you're on the date, this is for guys and girls, you got to be receptive to the person that they really are, right? So yes, you've fantasized maybe for a week, you've decided what you're going to wear, and you've anticipated, and you've committed. And once you're there, be receptive, be open to who they really are, and be enthusiastically curious to find out who they really are, because that's reality, right? Fantasies are very fun. It's always fun to spin a tale in your head about what's going to happen or what might happen or what could happen. But give that a break and be present to get to know the person, be receptive to it, be kind, and be curious. And then if there is a chance for a connection, you will build it. Once you walk away from that, you can really, think back to the things, the way that he answered the question or the way she answered the question, because you're asking questions that are really, important to you because you're so curious about who this person really is. And you could even say, oh, I noticed on your profile that you were traveling last year. Like, tell me more about that, because, your picture made you seem really like fun loving and adventurous. And if they're like, oh, yeah, like it was a work trip, just thought it was cool, then you're like, oh, okay. Well, that was kind of the picture that started the fantasy for me. And then you start to see reality versus the fantasy.
Yes.
And I think it's really good to be very aware of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's good to get to know the actual person.
Yeah, be very engaged and receptive. I think that's very good advice. Oh, and then I got even better advice last night. I like the way this is worded. Don't kiss their ass the first 3 dates. Mystery is important, and don't put it all out on the table the first 3 dates. I think a lot of women, especially myself, I'm a big time giver of love.
Pleasers.
I'm a big time pleaser.
Pleasers, yeah.
I love to show how, I'm wife material, or like, oh, it's like, oh yeah, oh, do you want to come over? Oh, I baked cookies. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, have this big happy home for this person to walk into, and they might be like, what the hell's going on? I'm not your husband yet. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go all out. You need to do those things that we just mentioned. Be receptive, be present, be engaging and curious, but you don't need to lay it all out there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Because those are things that in time you'll discover whether they deserve that kind of treatment or not.
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And alternatively, I would say, guys, don't make promises that you can't upkeep.
Oh,
right?
God.
So that would be the guy side of things, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Rhea,
a lot.
that's such a good point.
Because there's the women that are the pleasers and that are the give, but they're rampant is guys who give false, and I deal with it day in, day out, so I'm used to it. My radar is like really on point. But even on Tinder, guys want to make promises. Oh, I'm going on a vacation to Mexico on this date.
Like, maybe you could come. Right?
What kind of fantasy does that set up for a woman right off the bat?
Yeah.
So, of course, I swipe right for that guy. I did.
You're like, oh.
And I said, are you going to pay for this vacation?
Yeah.
Right away, But, I mean, there's that part of it, right?
God.
There is the guys, and it is so crazy. Guys, every day, 10 different guys say, give me a promise they can't fulfill.
And I think that's why we're trying to explain where our brains begin to be sexually active or sexually excited. We're trying to tell guys that it does start at the first conversation or the first view of the profile. So that is why you need to be honest and direct. That is because even if you don't think that you're leading somebody on, I think that you need to understand that this is how a woman's brain works. Okay? We're doing the math from day one, from the first minute. Is he this material? Is he going to be able to provide for me? Is he going to be able to sexually please me? Is he going to have time for me? Does he want what I want? These questions happen right away. And maybe with men, they don't happen so quickly. But this is just what happens in my brain. And if a lot of the answers are yes about the connection that's being made, then I will get sexually turned on. Mm-hmm. So be very aware of that, gentlemen, when you're dating, because it's so easy to lead a woman on.
And some people are really susceptible to false promises because they were raised with a bunch of false promises.
Or they were raised with people who keep their promises. So they're like, why wouldn't all these people keep their promises too?
Exactly.
Yeah. So either way, just be super aware. Like and sometimes a guy is saying one thing that he believes to be true, and a woman will take it in a different way. For example, I've had a guy say, I'm very sexually experienced and I'd love to bring you on this journey with me and teach you what I know. So I'm waiting for months for him to take me on this journey.
That's right. When is this journey gonna fucking start?
Right?
Oh my god.
And then at some point you just have to be like, either he was lying or he had a different idea of what this journey was gonna be, but it ain't coming through.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what you should do on the date. Be very aware, be in the moment, be curious, be kind. And then what do you do when the date ends?
This was right on that. I was like, okay. Because this is my biggest issue, all right? This is my biggest fucking issue.
Yeah.
And I literally, I've had to have a revolution inside myself and say, stop what you're doing. Because what I do after these dates is not what you should do.
Oh, what do you do?
Well, I am in the past, I don't date anymore. It's been months, but I would often, because I'm, a liberated sexual being, and I would just I want to know if the sex is going to be good, so I fuck them.
Yeah, right away.
Right?
Yeah.
And
which is fine.
Because I'm turned on or whatever, and I want to. It's not like it's
You don't have to explain why you want to have sex with somebody.
Yeah. But the
Let's
thing
just
is,
be clear.
Yes, but I don't think that is what I should do. I'm not going to do that anymore because every time I'm disappointed and it doesn't get me the results that I want.
Exactly. And so we've talked about this in previous podcasts. You need to know what you want before you even step in the ring for dating or in the dating pool.
Yeah,
Don't even put your toe in before you know what you want, because if you want a casual experience and dick inside you, then that's great. Yes. That's exactly what you'll get. But if you want a boyfriend, you shouldn't sleep with the guy on the first date.
No. And it's not even that I want a boyfriend. It's just that I want someone who's going to, and I thought about this as I was writing my Tinder profile. For me, sexual participation isn't reciprocation. And I'm looking for real non-sexual reciprocation. Okay? So that's what I mean when I don't want casual sex. I'll have sex with you, but I also want to do other non-sexual activities.
Yeah.
So not just sex.
Yeah.
Not just sex all the time. That's fine, but I want to maybe go out for meals, go on some dates, maybe do some activities.
That would turn you on the most.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think some guys, there's so many guys that are like, well, I'm giving you isn't my sex enough?
Right.
Right?
Well, I think women crave security in a number of ways. It could be security financially, and you want somebody to be really stable, have a good job, and that might actually be a turn on to you because, deep down, we all are looking for someone stable and secure. But security for Rhea might be the security that he will give her some of his free time outside of the bedroom. That might make her feel really secure in giving her free time to him. Okay. Security for me might, just be getting a text back or having, a really good back and forth of communication. Whatever that is for you, as a woman, you need that as part of getting turned on, as part of seeing the guy in a sexual way, especially if you're looking for a long-term relationship where you're both really connected with each other and in love.
Yeah, totally. And like, I think it's so key what you said earlier. Like, you really, and I had to do this, Rosa had to do this, really have to look at what you want before you even think about going on dating. Because I did that blind thing where, like, I didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah,
and
you're like, we'll just see what happens.
And then I'm just out here. And then it's like you get hit up by all these people. And it's like you don't really know. And it's like, oh, my God. But the thing is if you lay it out right away, you know what you want. You've said it out loud. You've put it in your profile. Then someone hits you up and they're not part of that dynamic. Then you can easily say, no, sorry, did you read my profile? Because I said this, that, and the other, and what you're saying doesn't align with that. So, no, I'm not going to go on a date with you. So I think it's super important that you know exactly what you want before you go on a date with someone.
Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, it's like, whatever. And then, yeah, like the guy, some people might be like, I just want it. And there are literally so many profiles that are like, I'm just looking for friends with benefits or casual sex. That's what all it says.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
But no, there's lots
seriously.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, great. Good. That's, you're saying what you want.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And one thing that I've learned in real life through experience, but also been told, which is totally true and really important to remember, is that you can't fuck a guy into loving you.
Oh, no.
Okay,
I've tried.
Right? Yeah.
We've all tried.
Yeah, we've all tried. And part of it is because you're lying to yourself about what really is going on with the two of you.
Yeah.
But the other part is that, you can get into a situation with a guy where you don't bring up what you really are. You haven't, put a stamp on it or made it official, but, it's been a few months or even years sometimes, or just a few weeks, whatever it may be, and you're having feelings and you're like, oh, well, I'll just keep going to him whenever he wants sex because eventually he's going to get to know my personality. He's going to fall in love with me. But that is never going to happen.
No, and also it just physically can't happen because the other thing is you never talk when you're having sex. So you like actually can't get to know the person if that's all you're doing.
Yeah, and honestly, even the nicest guys in the world, some of them after they fuck, they just want to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's fair.
Exactly.
Whether they have to leave because of their schedule or because they need now alone time or whatever it may be, they usually get up and leave.
Yeah.
How are they going to get to know you? Or you have to get up and leave.
And I would have some advice for guys too. Like, part of the reason, we encourage you so heavily to get to know a woman on a deeper level, not just sexually, is that when a woman feels like a guy is doing that, really getting to know her, and she can feel like she can open up and be vulnerable, the sex is going to be a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like, we've spoken about this before, that's when a woman feels totally comfortable and safe. Okay, it's not about we're not talking about relationships or rules in that way. We're talking about safety, security, comfortable, being able to be vulnerable and open. She can then take a guy on a journey that is unlike any other journey. So a guy should want to be intimate with a woman in that way, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so wait, better.
What were you saying? What do you do after dates? That's really bad. I'm trying to stay on track here.
I'll just fuck the guy right away.
We'll fuck the guy right away. Okay,
and
so
it's not good.
Got it. Okay,
yeah.
and then great. And then you've been ghosted a couple times or one time by the same person.
Then I find I've either been ghosted or the guy will just after that contact. He won't hit me up for another date, but he'll hit me up when
For
he gets
sex.
when he gets a
Yes.
boner. When his
Yes, yes,
boner
yes, yes.
cycle comes around again.
To be like, oh yeah, that was really fun. She's
Yeah.
really good at sex. I'm
That's
gonna fuck her
right.
again.
And so
Yeah.
then I go and I was like, well, and then in my mind, I'm like, yeah, the sex was okay.
And then you're like, okay.
Or it wasn't.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, it for me too, it's like I like to be turned on by the person's personality a little bit too. And it's like, if you don't have a connection, it's like, I'm like, well, the sex wasn't good. Now I don't want to see the person again.
Yeah.
Whereas if I just maybe gone on a second date, I could have been even more turned on by, I did.
The build up.
Originally, I was attracted to the person on the date,
Yeah.
obviously.
I honestly think this happens with men also. Because I'm like, why do men get so bored? And I think that the mystery and the not kissing ass plays into that, right? That advice we were saying before is that a man, if he knows exactly how your pussy feels and the way that you look when you're coming, then that might be enough for him, and now he's bored of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But if you combine the anticipation with him actually getting to know your personality, there's a fondness that might develop. Not with everybody, but sometimes you start liking somebody deeper, and then once you do finally have sex, it's like next level, okay? And you're already getting to know each other and have a mutual respect.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. You will develop more of a respect for someone as you get to know the person on a deeper level, which is very important. You can't. It's hard to ghost someone when you actually respect them and have feelings and like them.
Yeah.
And like their personality.
Exactly.
If you've gotten to know the person, it's a lot harder and more awkward to fucking ghost them.
Yeah, and there's this I don't know, this thought I've been having about, added value. And you can, in fact, add value yourself by putting an effort in. Okay, so exactly what Rhea is saying. If you're putting the effort to get to know somebody, you're going to see them as more valuable. And you're not going to want to treat them poorly. Right? You're not going to want to ghost them. You are going to treat them well, whether that's treating them well by saying, our 3 dates have been amazing. I've loved getting to know you, and I appreciate how open you've been. I just don't see this going any further. Right? That's respectful, and you see the value and you respect the person enough to say that sentence instead of just piecing out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, ghosting is never okay. Even, you know what I mean? Like, because it's so easy to text that one sentence that it's not like you have to meet up and break up or anything. I just think that it's never okay to ghost.
Yeah.
Because if it's considered a ghost, then you guys had something going on that needs to just be ended in a sentence.
Yeah.
And it's not okay to leave someone hanging.
Yeah.
My other advice that I always give guys that they don't ask for
Unsolicited.
is be nice. Everyone has a different idea of what nice is, but if you are genuinely being nice and the other person considers that to be nice, then they'll be happier with you and they'll be more comfortable and things can progress from there. If you're not nice, you probably won't see any value in the other human being, first of all, and you're going to hurt someone.
Yeah.
So just be nice.
Yeah, and I consider niceness directness personally.
Yeah.
That's what I see as nice. And like, I swear, like every time there's been tons of times where I've had to like send a message to a guy because he's been doing something weird, and I've just had to like tell him about it and be direct.
Mm-hmm.
Like say a texting Terry, for instance, a guy who's like texting you incessantly, and like maybe you thought about going on a date with him, but now it's like he's been texting you every day, all day, and it's like too much. Rather than just not text the person, which is easy to do, I think it's just be like, listen, I really don't like it when people send me too many text messages. Like, be very direct with people because people really appreciate it. Every single time that I've been so super, almost painfully direct with guys, they've always either been like, thank you so, like, been very polite about it and receptive, or just didn't message me back at all, which I think is an okay response too.
Yeah.
And at least they get something out of it. The more direct you can be with people, the better, I think.
Absolutely. I consider that kindness as well because it's hard. It's hard to be direct.
What about, who I have a really hard time being direct with?
Who?
Is my fucking ex-boyfriends. Right? I have the worst issues letting go of my exes.
Yeah, well, Rhea grew up in Vancouver, so she recycles.
Like crazy.
I've recycled lots of times. Sometimes it's curiosity or comfort. And what I say, like what I mean when I say recycled is like you fuck your ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
You already used him and now you want to use him again.
And then you're like, I'm never doing this again. In your mind, you're like, blah, right?
Yeah, and
There's a
can
lot of
anyone
regret.
relate to this? Because I personally, at this point in my life, I cannot. I am now in a place where I am so sure about my decisions to the point where if I even feel like texting an ex or something, I remind myself of the decisions that I've made. I made them, in truth. I made them, with like kindness to myself and, deliberately. So I would never go back to an ex anymore, but I have lots of times. Rhea,
Well, what's your, like, you said ex-etiquette. Like, you think that, like,
okay, well, this is a whole gamut of things, the ex etiquette. For me, part of it is Instagram. So I want to know, men and women out there, please DM me and talk to me about if you look at who watches your stories, are your exes on there? And how does that make you feel? Because I am trying to figure out this etiquette, especially when it comes to Instagram, since we're all on it all the time. We're all sharing so much of ourselves in our day. Why do people that don't want to be with me want to watch my stories? It's just like, I know it doesn't mean anything. I know they're on the toilet,
yeah,
probably
exactly.
just scrolling, and they're passively looking at everyone's stories, but that's not really how I look at people's stories. Like, I like to deliberately unfollow out of respect, because if I'm going to end things with you, then why would I watch what's going on in your life? But I think that most people have a different opinion about that. And I'd love to know, we were asking on Rosa and Rhea Instagram, what do you guys want us to talk about in this next podcast? And somebody said that her ex-boyfriend got a new girlfriend and the new girlfriend started following her on Instagram. And she was like, what the hell's up with that? And I think that's part of ex etiquette too. Like, excusez-moi?
Yeah, I have some now that I think about it, I think I have some ex-girlfriends with my ex-boyfriends following me.
And that's bizarre.
But
It's
I don't
like,
think, I don't,
do you guys want to be friends? Like,
I
I'll be
don't
your
read
friend.
into
I love
it.
girls. I don't really read into it either, because unless you're really going to just DM them and say, hey, what the hell's going on? Do you want to be my friend? Like, are you my stalker?
But
are
the
you
guys,
jealous?
the guys that don't text me back and are fucking in my stories, that shit just drives me crazy. Like the people that
okay.
have ghosted me, some people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I've done the unfollow. There's different levels to
There's
mine.
levels. I don't like blocking people unless they're deliberately rude or
Yeah.
made me feel uncomfortable. I would not block a person for ghosting me.
No,
but I do
no.
notice if you ghost me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but
yeah.
for example, I think a lot of people get irritated if you haven't received a text back, but you see they're active on Instagram. For me, I don't feel irritated by that at all. I would never let that bother me. I would just get rid of the person if they were doing that to me a lot.
Yeah.
I would just say, obviously you don't text me back enough. Here's my evidence. And then I'd let them go out of my life.
Yeah, of
I wouldn't
course.
just like constantly be annoyed by it.
No,
You
no,
know what I mean?
no.
That's like a nice indication that they probably aren't that into
I
you.
guess it would be like a ghoster I was kind of referring to. But
That's kind of crazy, right?
I
Because
know.
it's quite personal. What I put out there, like I'm like in my bed with my dogs, and
Yeah.
it's like, why do you want to look at that? I don't.
Well, it's the fantasy, Rosa. It goes back to exactly what we were talking about. People love to buy into it. They want to, what is Rosa up to?
Sure.
Who knows? But I think it's weird. I do recommend, like, if someone disrespects you, or is rude or crosses your boundaries, you should block them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But for just like ghosting, I wouldn't necessarily do a block or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like a full, like I've had guys say some really disrespectful shit to me. Those people are full block.
Absolutely.
That's it. You're done.
Yeah, and then, they get that feeling like, oh, she blocked me, and then they're like, oh, fuck, I guess I said something idiotic. Maybe I shouldn't say that again.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what the hope would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do we have? Okay, so ex-etiquette. So that's part of it. And then the other part, so that's the etiquette as far as, Tinder goes, as far as, what if you saw your ex on Tinder?
Oh, I have many times. I've seen everyone on Tinder. That's a crazy thing about Vancouver. It's such a small city
Yeah.
that when I go on Tinder, it's like all the same. It's like being in a small room with a few people in it. It's
Oh
like,
my God, that's such a good analogy. I love that
it
example.
seriously is. It's like, oh, there's that guy again. He's still single. Here I am, still single.
Oh my God.
But it's really I have seen a lot of my exes. I've seen people that have fucking ghosted me on there.
Oh,
I've seen all
God.
kinds of people on there. I've seen colleagues. I've seen this. Colleagues, I've had all kinds of people swipe right for me too, super like me. I mean, it's
And
just
you're like,
out of
oh,
control.
okay.
Out of control, you know.
What about when they super like you, but they have your number, and you're like,
I don't know if that's happened to me yet. Oh my God. That's a next level.
Yeah.
That's really next level.
but back to the exes, like, say, with Instagram, you can't really control whether they follow you unless you want to like go so far as to block them, but that's kind of dramatic. And then exes, real life exes who text you, hit you up, who want to sleep with you or you want to sleep with them. I mean, that's very dangerous territory. And I think you need to go back, Rhea, to what your goals are. And, your goal is to have a boyfriend or to be respected by somebody who wants to, do boyfriendy things with you, right?
Yeah, I clearly give my ex-boyfriends a free pass. Like you're saying.
It's not good. So when you want to text your ex-boyfriend, be like, is this, going to get me closer to my goal? The answer is obviously no.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that what Rhea does, and I'm sure lots of us do, and what I've done in the past, is you make up an excuse to rationalize the text or the call or reaching out. So, oh, well, he said he'd like, he really wanted to take me bike riding, and it's just something that we didn't get a chance to do. Or, oh, I forgot a pair of my shoes at his house a year ago, so I'm just gonna go over there and pick them up. It's like, let the fucking shoes go bike riding with your sister or your best friend, and delete his number.
Oh, you're talking about specific times. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a really familiar story. I'm like, wow.
I wasn't trying to be specific. I was giving random examples.
No, it's good. A good example.
Yeah, I think that everyone's gone to the ex's house to pick up something they don't really need. It's like a friend of mine, she broke up with her boyfriend. She's like, I left my shoes at his house. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go get them.
Yeah, exactly.
But she's like, no, I'll go. And it's like, okay, do you want the shoes or do you want to see him? Because obviously if you were that desperate for the shoes, you would have been so glad for someone else to go get them. And
yeah, exactly.
Right. So really check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, that's very, very good advice for sure.
Yeah, every time. And that it takes a lot of mental awareness. Every time you want to text your ex, are you rationalizing something? Are you, is this on track to your goals? And then you can rationalize it. Well, I have other goals and he can help me with those. No.
The feeling that I
collaborate with someone else.
Yeah, and what I try and remind myself in these times when I'm tested, because I get tested a lot, what I try to do anyways is really focus on how shitty I feel afterwards. Like, what the feeling I'm trying to avoid is totally valid. You know what I mean? I don't like the feeling I get after casual sex where I don't get what I want, where my boundaries were crossed.
Totally.
So
I don't like that either.
I don't like that. So I'm not going to go there, hopefully.
Yeah, you don't get the warm and fuzzies. You just feel like shit.
And if you're a guy, women never forget the times that you guys commit to like a date. Go on the date and make that woman feel that's a special feeling. And
yeah, when rare. You follow through.
Yeah, when you follow through. So you make a promise that you can follow through on, It doesn't have to be like a trip to fucking Mexico. It can be a date on a specific night of the week.
Totally.
But when you follow through on that woman, that's like so many brownie points in her mind. Like, she does not forget shit like that.
Yeah, and then I think after a date, if you go on one date and you didn't love it, just send out a text. Hey, thanks so much for spending time with me. Just so you know, I'm going to pursue other opportunities.
Wow. I'm just trying to imagine receiving that text. Like, no,
what
yeah.
if, I don't know, maybe that's excessive. But what if the girl or the guy is waiting like...
No, it's good to be direct. It's good to be direct.
And then I talked to a coworker of mine, and he said that he went on 8 dates with this girl. 8. That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. I haven't even been on 8 dates, period.
Consecutive dates with the same person.
Uh-huh.
And on the 9th date, he realized he wasn't sexually attracted to her.
Yeah, that's really that's scary.
And I asked him, what did you do? And he's like, oh, I sent her this big long message saying like, I've had fun, but I don't think that we should date anymore. And that's great, but like maybe try and have some self-awareness before 8 dates.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'm sure you can get wrapped up and it's fun to spend time with people, but a woman or a man is going to obviously assume that it's safe to assume that somebody likes you and is attracted to you if they spend hours of time with you 8 separate times.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a lot of times with not having sex, too.
Yeah, I actually didn't ask him that. I was like...
I'm just trying to... Because I know right away I shouldn't be having sex, personally. This is just my own person. Do whatever you guys want. Like, if you want to do whatever you want. It feels right. But for me... and I've done it so many times, I do it every time. For me, going on a date feels amazing, but going on a date then having sex right afterwards does not feel amazing.
But you always do it.
But I always do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's really...
That's good. And, there's no way of a guy knowing that, right?
But at the same
so
time...
it's up to you.
But my other point was that 8 times would be a bit excessive. 8 times might be a bit much. Right? One time...
yeah, okay, so 8 times is too long to wait for sex, right? That's what you're saying. But 1 time is too short because you're not going to get out of it the feelings that you want. You're going to feel a little bit like you've disrespected yourself.
Yeah.
But the guy's not going to know that. So what's really important is to make the decision for yourself and stick with it, okay? He's not going to help you with this. He's going to try and fuck you. Because you're really hot and you're cool and you're great at going on dates.
Yeah. He's going to fuck
so
me.
you need,
exactly.
You
every
need
time.
to remember this, is that he will still try. And you can't get mad at him. You can't hold that against him.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's probably, you don't want to start the date off by being like, just so you know, I'm not going to fuck you tonight. Right?
Yeah.
So keep that to yourself, but show him with your actions that you respect yourself and that you want to get to know him better. If a lot of guys, that's a great way of just cutting them out right away, because a lot of guys who don't get to fuck on the first date won't call you again because they just wanted something easy.
Exactly.
So if they don't call you again and you didn't fuck them, be like, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Because now you've already shown me that you don't belong in my life. Okay? If a guy sticks around, maybe he does belong to, for your time to get to know him, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you need to keep these reality-based thoughts in the front of your mind. But don't get mad at him if he tries to fuck you.
No, because he will every time.
Of course, guys.
Even the nicest guys on the planet will try and fuck me.
Yeah, they're going to try.
Yeah.
Of course they will. And they're going to do it if you suggest it or, want to. So remember that this is your decision for you. And it doesn't really have anything to do with him because you don't quite know him yet on the first date.
Yes, exactly.
So go home, masturbate, think about him, give it a few days, digest the things that you've learned about him. Think about if you want to spend more time and see if the text message comes in or see if you feel like reaching out to him and saying, that was so fun, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, no, I'm down. I'm definitely on board with this. I am not doing that anymore.
Okay, good. So this has been a lot of really good advice today. I think we're going to wrap it up probably right there.
You should follow us on Instagram at Rosa and Rhea. Go to rosaandrhea.com. Follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you know what you can do? If you guys want us to audit your Tinder or Bumble profiles, send us the link and we can do an audit for you.
Is there a link?
Well, you can send us a screenshot.
Oh, okay, yeah. Send
Us
us
a
a screenshot. Yeah.
Screenshot your profile.
Yeah. And we'll give you some
there
advice.
could be a link, and we'll give you some advice.